For decades, we were taught the same lesson. If you want to make money from land, you grow corn, soybeans, or wheat. You work hard, you plant more acres, you wait for the harvest. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most farmers growing those crops barely break even. Some lose money year after year, despite doing everything right. Now ask yourself something honestly. What if the problem was never your effort? What if it was what you were told to grow? While millions of acres are fighting over crops that sell for pennies per pound, there are plants quietly selling for $20, $40, even $80 per pound. Plants most farmers have never heard of. Plants chefs, supplement companies, and health-conscious buyers are desperate to get more of. This isn't hype, it's basic math. Low supply, high demand, premium prices. And here's what should bother you. One of the fastest growing plants on Earth was studied by NASA, and most people still think it's pond scum. Another plant on this list sells for up to $80 per pound, and you can grow it in your own backyard. So the real question isn't whether farming can make you wealthy. It's whether you've been growing the wrong plants your whole life. This video is not about get-rich-quick farming, and it is not fantasy. It is about how real markets actually work. Specialty crops win because they are not sold by the truckload. They are sold by the pound, sometimes by the ounce, to buyers who care more about quality than quantity. You do not need hundreds of acres for this. Many of these plants grow in small plots, greenhouses, or even backyard spaces. You do not need massive equipment or deep debt. Startup costs are low, but margins are high, because demand is strong and supply is limited. That is why specialty crops beat commodity farming. Instead of competing with millions of growers worldwide, you serve smaller markets where buyers are actively looking for you and willing to pay premium prices. In this video, I will show you 20 of these plants, ranked from impressive to absolutely incredible. Each one is profitable for a clear reason. By the end, you will understand which plants fit your land, your climate, and your goals, and why growing differently changes everything. The wealth gap farmers never see. Most people believe farming is about volume. More land, bigger machines, larger harvests. That belief has trapped generations of hardworking people. Commodity crops only work when you sell massive amounts at very thin margins. A few cents per pound can decide whether you survive the year or go under. You work longer hours, take on more debt, and hope the market turns in your favor. Often, it doesn't. Specialty crops work on a different rule. They focus on margin, not volume. Instead of selling tons for pennies, you sell pounds for dollars. One customer buying a high-value herb can be worth more than an entire truckload of grain. This is where the wealth gap appears. It is not about intelligence or effort. Many people worked their entire lives doing everything they were told, yet never got ahead. Not because they failed, but because they were playing a game designed for large corporations. Niche demand changes that. When supply is limited and buyers are passionate, prices rise. And suddenly, smaller growers have an advantage instead of a disadvantage. Plants 1 through 5. High demand, easy entry. 1. Moringa, the miracle tree. Moringa is often called the miracle tree, and for business reasons, not hype. Its dried leaves sell for $20 to $40 per pound, and demand keeps rising. Supplement companies, smoothie brands, and health-focused consumers all want it. The tree grows fast, sometimes reaching 15 feet in a single year. You can harvest the leaves again and again, season after season. Once established, it needs very little care. From a grower's perspective, this is rare. A renewable crop, multiple harvests, premium pricing. Most moringa is still imported, which means local growers have an open door. While others struggle with low-value crops, moringa quietly rewards those who plant it early and harvest consistently. 2. Duckweed, NASA's forgotten gold. Duckweed looks like pond scum, and that is exactly why most people ignore it. But dried duckweed sells for $20 to $60 per pound. It is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth, doubling in mass in as little as 1 to 2 days. NASA studied it as a food source for long space missions because it is up to 45% protein. Today, supplement companies, animal feed producers, and aquaculture farms want it. You can grow it in small ponds or tanks with minimal cost. High growth speed, high protein, multiple markets. Duckweed proves that what looks worthless to most people can be extremely valuable to the right buyers. 3. Lovage, the chef's secret. Lovage is the kind of plant chefs quietly search for. It sells for $15 to $30 per pound, and the supply is very limited. The flavor is deep and complex, often described as celery with more character. High-end restaurants use it in soups, stocks, and garnishes because it adds something ordinary herbs cannot. Lovage is a perennial, meaning it comes back every year. Once planted, it requires little maintenance and can be harvested multiple times each season. Chefs do not want substitutes. They want consistency and freshness. When you grow what professionals cannot easily find, price becomes secondary to availability. Number 4. Culantro, ethnic demand powerhouse. Culantro is often confused with cilantro, but it is far more valuable. It sells for $15 to $30 per pound and is essential in Latin American and Asian cooking. Its flavor is stronger, deeper, and impossible to replace in traditional dishes. The demand already exists. The problem is supply. Culantro is rarely found in regular grocery stores, which forces people to search specialty markets or go without. For growers, this is a clear opportunity. The plant is easy to grow in warm climates or greenhouses. Cultural demand is loyal and consistent. When you serve communities that know exactly what they want, competition matters far less. Number 5. Shiso, the Asian herb boom. Shiso is moving from niche to mainstream, and the prices show it. It sells for $20 to $50 per pound, especially when sold fresh to restaurants. Japanese and Korean cuisine depends on shiso, and those restaurants are opening everywhere. The flavor is unique, slightly minty and herbal, with no real substitute. Home cooks are discovering it too, but supply has not caught up. Shiso grows quickly, can be harvested often, and thrives in controlled environments. It was ignored simply because it was not part of traditional Western farming. But food culture has changed, and shiso is riding that wave straight into premium demand. If this is opening your eyes, you are not alone. Most people were never taught to look at farming this way. If you want to keep learning how overlooked plants create real income, consider subscribing. We are not chasing trends here. We are learning how to see opportunities others walk past every day. Plants 6 to 10, the overlooked moneymakers. 6. Epazote, the herb nobody grows. Epazote is essential in traditional Mexican cooking, yet fresh epazote is surprisingly hard to find. It sells for $12 to $25 per pound, and people who need it cannot simply substitute another herb. Dried epazote does not compare to fresh, which creates constant local demand from restaurants and home cooks. The plant grows easily, almost like a weed, and requires very little care. Mexican cuisine is one of the most popular food categories in North America, but many of its core herbs are still underproduced locally. That gap between demand and availability is where profit lives. Epazote proves that serving a focused, knowledgeable market can be more profitable than chasing broad popularity. 7. Purslane, the weed worth more than spinach. Purslane is often pulled out of gardens and thrown away, yet it sells for $15 to $30 per pound in the right markets. Nutritionally, it is remarkable. It contains more omega-3 fatty acids than most leafy greens and has a crisp, slightly lemony taste that chefs love. Health-conscious consumers are discovering it, and upscale restaurants are adding it to menus. The best part is how easily it grows. Purslane thrives in poor soil, spreads naturally, and requires almost no maintenance. What most people see as a nuisance can become a high-margin crop. Purslane teaches an important lesson. Sometimes the most profitable plants are the ones people never bothered to understand. Number 8. Yaupon holly, America's forgotten caffeine plant. Yaupon holly is the only native North American plant that naturally contains caffeine, and dried leaves sell for $30 to $70 per pound. It produces a smooth, tea-like drink without the harshness many people associate with coffee. As interest in tea alternatives grows, yaupon is gaining attention. It is a perennial shrub that thrives in the southeastern United States and requires little care once established. The leaves can be harvested multiple times per year. Consumers want local, sustainable products with a story, and yaupon offers exactly that. It was forgotten for cultural reasons, not because it lacked value. Today, it is being rediscovered as a premium, homegrown caffeine source. Number 9. Mexican tarragon, the herb that thrives where others fail. French tarragon is famous, but it is also difficult to grow in hot climates. Mexican tarragon fills that gap and sells at premium herb prices. It offers a similar anise-like flavor and grows vigorously in warm conditions. For growers in regions where French tarragon struggles, this plant is a solution chefs appreciate. Demand comes from both professional kitchens and home cooks who want reliable flavor year-round. Mexican tarragon is easy to maintain, productive, and still largely unknown in commercial markets. This creates low competition and steady demand. It proves that the right plant in the right climate can outperform more famous alternatives. Number 10. Lemon balm, the stress relief everyone wants. Lemon balm sits at the center of the wellness market and sells for $20 to $40 per pound when dried. It is used in teas, tinctures, supplements, and sleep products. Research supports its calming properties, which makes it attractive to both traditional herbalists and modern consumers. The plant grows easily, spreads quickly, and can be harvested multiple times each season. Demand continues to rise as stress and sleep problems become more common. Lemon balm was overlooked because it grows so easily that people assumed it had little value. In reality, easy growth combined with strong demand creates one of the most reliable income crops for small-scale growers. Why nobody talks about these crops? There is a reason most people never hear about these plants. Modern agriculture was built for scale, not intelligence. The system rewards crops that can be planted, harvested, processed, and traded by machines across thousands of acres. Anything that does not fit that model gets ignored. Easy crops are often dismissed because they do not require massive equipment or complex logistics. They rely on knowledge, timing, and quality instead of volume. And knowledge does not benefit industrial agriculture the way land and machinery do. This creates a powerful illusion. People believe success comes from more acres and harder work. So they push themselves further, take on more debt, and wonder why the results never change. The truth is uncomfortable, but freeing. Hard work was never the problem. Direction was. When you understand markets instead of chasing scale, land becomes less important than insight. A small grower with the right information can outperform larger operations stuck producing what everyone else grows. That is why these crops stay quiet. They reward thinking, not muscle. Plants 11 through 15. Wellness and pet industry gold. 11. Ashwagandha, the supplement industry's darling. Ashwagandha has become one of the most in-demand herbs in the wellness world. Dried roots sell for $25 to $60 per pound, and demand continues to rise. Used for stress support, energy, and overall balance, it appears in countless supplements. Most of the supply is still imported, which creates an opportunity for local growers who can offer fresh, high-quality roots. The plant grows well in many temperate regions and does not require expensive equipment. For growers, ashwagandha represents a bridge between traditional herbal use and modern science-backed demand. When a single plant serves a global market worth hundreds of millions, even small-scale production can be meaningful. 12. Hyssop, the forgotten tea herb. Hyssop is an old herb that is quietly making a comeback. Dried hyssop sells for $20 to $35 per pound, mostly for teas and essential oil blends. It has a long history in traditional medicine and religious texts, which gives it cultural depth modern consumers appreciate. The plant grows as a hardy perennial and requires minimal care once established. Tea companies and herbal formulators are always looking for unique flavors with a story, and hyssop provides both. It disappeared from mainstream farming not because it lacked value, but because mass-market agriculture had no use for it. Today's small-batch wellness market is bringing it back. 13. Tulsi, the holy basil goldmine. Tulsi, also known as holy basil, is an Ayurvedic staple that now sells for $20 to $45 per pound dried. It is widely used for stress support, immune health, and daily wellness teas. Demand comes from both traditional practitioners and modern wellness brands. Tulsi grows quickly, can be harvested multiple times per season, and adapts well to greenhouse or warm outdoor conditions. The adaptogen trend has placed Tulsi firmly in the spotlight. For growers, it offers steady demand and premium pricing without complicated processing. Tulsi shows how spiritual tradition and modern health markets can overlap to create real income. 14. Catnip, not just for cats. High-quality catnip sells for $30 to $60 per pound, and the pet industry happily pays it. Cat owners treat pets like family, and they want safe, potent, organic products. That includes catnip. The plant grows vigorously, returns every year, and is easy to harvest. The difference between cheap catnip and premium catnip is quality, and quality commands price. Natural pet stores, boutiques, and direct-to-consumer brands are always looking for reliable suppliers. Catnip was dismissed as a novelty crop, but novelty disappears when a multi-billion-dollar industry depends on it. Few crops are this simple and this consistently profitable. 15. Calendula, the skincare industry's secret weapon. Calendula flowers sell for $20 to $50 per pound dried and are heavily used in natural skincare. Creams, salves, soaps, and oils all rely on calendula for its skin-soothing properties. The clean beauty movement has driven demand sharply upward. Calendula grows easily, produces abundant flowers, and can be harvested repeatedly throughout the season. Growers can sell directly to manufacturers or supply small crafters and soap makers. Flowers are often overlooked in agriculture, but the skincare industry values effectiveness, not tradition. Calendula proves that beauty markets reward growers who understand where real demand lives. Plants 16 to 19, premium and exotic power crops. 16. Fenugreek, the dual market powerhouse. Fenugreek is valuable because it serves two strong markets at once. The dried seeds sell for $15 to $30 per pound and are essential in Indian, Middle Eastern, and African cooking. At the same time, the supplement industry uses fenugreek for wellness products related to metabolism and digestion. This dual demand creates stability. If one market slows, the other remains. Fenugreek is relatively easy to grow. The seeds store well, and shipping is simple. Most fenugreek in Western markets is imported, which gives domestic growers an opening. When a single crop feeds both food and supplement industries, the risk drops and the opportunity rises. 17. Stevia, the natural sweetener revolution. Stevia leaves sell for $20 to $40 per pound dried, and demand keeps growing. As people move away from sugar and artificial sweeteners, stevia has become the natural option they trust. It is hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, yet calorie-free. The plant grows well in warm climates and can be cultivated as an annual in cooler regions. While large corporations dominate refined stevia extracts, there is a strong and growing market for whole dried leaves used in teas and home sweetening. This allows small growers to compete without heavy processing. Stevia proves that you do not need factories to profit from massive health trends. 18. Sichuan pepper, the exotic spice worth more than gold. Sichuan pepper is not a true pepper, but its value is unmistakable. It sells for $40 to $80 per pound and delivers a flavor no other spice can replace. The numbing, tingling sensation it creates is essential to authentic Sichuan cuisine. As global food culture expands, demand for real ingredients has exploded. High-end restaurants and spice companies want fresh, high-quality supply, and domestic production is still limited. The plant can grow in temperate climates and produces valuable husks once established. Sichuan pepper sits in the premium tier where rarity and authenticity drive pricing. Exotic, when real, becomes extremely profitable. 19. Gotu kola, the cognitive enhancement cash crop. Gotu kola sells for $30 to $60 per pound and sits at the crossroads of two booming industries, brain health and skincare. Traditionally used for memory and wound healing, it is now a key ingredient in supplements and premium cosmetics. Demand comes from aging adults, professionals, and wellness brands seeking cognitive support products. Gotu kola grows in warm, moist conditions and can be harvested multiple times per year. Supply remains limited because few growers understand its value. This is where the tension peaks. A plant most people have never heard of is quietly becoming one of the most profitable specialty crops available. Plant 20. I can't believe this is legal moment. Vanilla is the moment everything clicks. Real vanilla, not the artificial flavoring, sells for $200 to $600 per pound. In bad harvest years, prices have gone even higher. It is one of the most valuable agricultural products on Earth by weight, and almost nobody thinks of it as something they could grow themselves. Here is why this is shocking. Vanilla is not rare because it is impossible to grow. It is rare because it requires patience, care, and human involvement. Each flower must be hand-pollinated, every single one. That labor is why global supply stays low and prices stay high. Vanilla can be grown in greenhouses, shade houses, or warm climates. You do not need large acreage. A small, well-managed operation can produce a crop with more than entire fields of commodity plants. Chefs, bakeries, and food companies are desperate for real vanilla because consumers are demanding authentic ingredients. This is the payoff for staying to the end. A legal plant, a global market, extraordinary prices. Vanilla proves the final lesson. Wealth in agriculture does not come from doing what is easy. It comes from doing what is rare, valuable, and understood by very few. The real path to agricultural wealth. What you have seen in this list is not luck, and it is not a trick. None of these plants became valuable by accident, and none of them require massive land, expensive machines, or chasing the latest trend every year. The real difference is understanding where value actually comes from. For decades, people were told that success in farming meant bigger fields and harder work. Many followed that path faithfully, only to reach retirement tired, worn down, and still worried about money. That is not a failure of effort. It is a failure of the system they were taught to trust. Agricultural wealth comes from knowledge, not acreage. It comes from positioning yourself where demand is strong and supply is weak. And it takes courage to step away from what everyone else is doing and grow something different. This is not about abandoning tradition. It is about updating it. When you choose plants that reward care, timing, and quality, the balance shifts. Suddenly, experience matters again. And for those who have spent a lifetime working the land, that realization brings something rare: hope. Choose a different future. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this: the future of farming does not belong only to those with the most land or the biggest machines. It belongs to the people willing to think differently and grow what others overlook. Every plant on this list proves the same quiet truth. Value comes from understanding demand, not from following the crowd. For many people, especially those who have worked hard for decades, this realization can feel both uncomfortable and freeing. It means the past effort was never wasted.
It simply needed better direction. A small plot, a greenhouse, or even a backyard can become the start of something meaningful when knowledge guides the work. If videos like this help you see opportunity where others see nothing, consider subscribing. This channel is not about shortcuts or hype. It is about learning together, sharing real ideas, and building independence step by step. Before you go, I would love to hear from you. Which plant on this list surprised you the most? And if you had to choose just one, what would you grow first? Your answers help shape this community, and someone reading your comment might discover their next opportunity.